Thank you. We're on the air. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Wellington Village Council for Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. Mrs. Cardozo, I always say it wrong. Could you please come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You could come up on the stage with us. I'm just thinking, yes, you're one of the few people that knows the words because you said it every day also. So come on up with us if you don't mind, since I know you know it. You can do it there if you'd like, or you can come up. It's up to you. You can do it right there.
Please stand for the pledge.
Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
We're going to remain standing for the invocation, and that was my fault for not mentioning that. We have with us Deacon Payne from St. Therese. So please, if you don't mind standing for the invocation.
Heavenly Father, as we gather for this evening's meeting at the Village of Wellington Council, we are intent on working towards the common good with your guidance. We seek to fairly represent the citizens of our village. May our efforts be blessed with your wisdom and understanding. May our personal beliefs give us strength to act justly in all matters before us. We recognize our need to honor the past as we plan for the future. May we keep in mind the rights and needs of both of our citizens and our community. As trusted servants, we seek your blessings on our deliberations and efforts this evening. Amen.
Thank you very much. Now you may be seated. Usually when we have children in the audience, we ask the children to do it because they know the words. But thank you very much for improvising with us. Mr. Schofield.
That will bring us to the adoption of the agenda, and I had planned on recommending adoption as presented, but I would like to, if I may, add an introduction of Valerie Haynes, the new area superintendent, after Ms. Cardozo's presentation, if that's okay. So with that change, staff recommends adoption of the agenda.
Okay, and that would be
Item
5B?
5B.
Okay.
Move to approve as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. Very well. That brings us to presentations.
Presentations and proclamation. The first item is a proclamation of the Village Council of Wellington, Florida, recognizing New Horizons Elementary School Principal Elizabeth Cardozo on her retirement and years of service with Palm Beach County Schools and to the Village of Wellington. Ms. Kolobi has it to read by title.
Whereas Elizabeth, better known as Betsy Cardozo, has been an educator for a total of 41 years, 39 of which have been in Palm Beach County. And whereas Ms. Cardozo began her career in 1976 as a second-grade teacher in Bradenton, Florida, and during her career also worked as a school counselor and assistant principal, ending her career as the principal at New Horizons Elementary School, where she served for 15 years. And whereas during her time as principal at New Horizons Elementary School, an international Spanish academy, Ms. Cardozo facilitated the growth of the dual language program, which has children learning in both English and Spanish. And whereas Ms. Cardozo is an active member of the community, belongs to the Palm Beach County Administrators Association, and is a sustaining member of the Junior League of the Palm Beaches, and a member of St. Peter's United Methodist Church. Whereas on May 31st, 2019, students and teachers at New Horizons bid farewell to their beloved principal and wished her well as she embarks on new and exciting adventures. And whereas during her retirement, Ms. Cardozo plans to travel and remain active in the community by volunteering in the schools, the library, and at her church. Now, therefore, on behalf of the residents of the Village of Wellington, the Village Council hereby recognizes Ms. Elizabeth Cardozo on her retirement and for her dedication and commitment to Palm Beach County Schools and the Village of Wellington, and extends their best wishes as she begins her retirement.
Thank you very much. I'm overwhelmed. It has been my honor to serve the community of New Horizons for the past 15 years as principal, and to just finish 41 years as an educator. It seems like it flew by. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the members of the council as well as the education committee for your support of the schools in Wellington over the years. It really does make a difference in the lives of the students at the elementary, middle, and high schools. So I just express my deepest appreciation to you all. I'm looking forward to this new adventure, this new phase in my life. I know that I'm leaving the school in very capable hands, and just thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Well, this is an incredibly long time to serve. My 41 years, that's an incredible impact you've had on the future in Wellington. So it's the least we can do is hand you a proclamation and celebrate you one more time. My daughter quit in year 3 of teaching. So, and I think she will go back. She was a great teacher, so I'm hoping that she'll go back later. But 41 years of dealing with a new crop every year, and whatever else comes down from above, from the legislature and from the community. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. So, thank you so much for your continued commitment and the fact that you're going to continue to be committed to this community. I know that other people up here have some comments. Mr. Vice Mayor?
Sure. Again, congratulations on a fantastic 41-year career as an educator is amazing. And, the fact that all your colleagues are here tonight to celebrate you again, and the legacy you've left behind is in all the lives you've touched along the way, which is really great to look back and see all the people that you've touched and how they've grown up into, adults and what they've done and how they've succeeded. And it has to be extremely rewarding for you to have retired when you did, and we thank you for all you've done in Wellington and our community and the children you've helped. And just, we're going to miss you, but the school I know is going to be in great hands going forward. So thank you.
Councilman Dreyhouse?
Yeah, it's not every day that you get an opportunity to recognize somebody like Betsy Cardozo. And we all keep talking about the 41 years. I'm 41 years old. So that means she's been in education as long as I've been alive.
Don't rub it in.
So I know how long of a time that is.
Ejector seat.
No, but in all seriousness, I actually had an opportunity to see Principal Cardozo at work. I won a bid to do the dual language program. I was a kindergarten teacher for a day, technically. And so I went to New Horizons, and thankfully Ms. Cardozo was there to kind of help me along. But I got to see the culture of New Horizons up close and personal. And I came away just in love with that school and the environment that you helped create there. And all of those kids, as the Vice Mayor said, who have been molded in your vision. And now you have that legacy to look on. That must be extremely rewarding for you. And you deserve this recognition, and you deserve the retirement, and I hope that you enjoy it. And I'm glad that you're going to stay in the community and continue to contribute, because there aren't many Betsy Cardozos out there. So thank you for everything that you did for us.
Councilman McGovern?
I think that my colleagues have hit on the key thing, which is that you had a passion for that school and this community, and making sure that children there, as things changed, the community changed, socioeconomic standards for that school changed up and down and back again. You made sure that we were always focused. You were focused. This council and our education committee were focused. Your parents were focused, and the students were focused on the singular goal of their own individual achievement in a very successful environment. And you made sure that that happened. You brought in dual language, and then you brought in dual language gifted. And I think that is all a tribute to you and your leadership. And so I thank you for the partnership that we've had, that you've invited us every year. We've been there at the carnival. We've met privately. You've made sure that you recruited teachers that fit the mission of what was going on there. And I think that that's a real testament to you, that school has maintained or gotten back to its A rating, and it is something that you are really leaving in good hands for the next generation. So I want to thank you for that, and I look forward to calling on you since you are a Wellington resident and you'll still be here. We'll be able to call on you to assist us with projects as they come forward. So we're looking forward to that, and congratulations on your retirement. And most of all, it was wonderful to see the picture on the cover of the local section of the Palm Beach Post. And I think that picture sort of said it all, where you and that big hug with that child really said, this is the Betsy Cardozo I know. She loves every kid and they love her. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I'll just wrap
Councilwoman.
it up. Congratulations again. I know I speak for all of us when I say that we can't thank you enough for everything that you've done for Wellington and the community, the students, the parents. And you are always out there in the community. I know we've spent some time together, like the Great Charity Challenge and some other community events, and you always put yourself out there, and all our principals do, and it makes such a difference in our schools and our students' lives. So thank you for that. And the mayor and I attended your retirement party, and you could just feel the love. There were so many people there. It was a really special event. And I just want to say thank you for everything. We're here for you, and we hope to see a lot of you still, and since you're here in the community, and thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And we're going to come down for a picture because I know we have a hard copy for you to take home. And we're not going to have any tears. We're only going to be happy. And if you'd like, could you please invite your husband up for the picture also?
As you're waiting, Ms. Cardozo, we graduated in the same year, and I can't help but notice that the years have been far kinder to you than they were to me.
Although you both made significant contributions. Thank you. People who are here, let's do one really quick with everyone because it really is a group effort. So everybody come up, and Paulette, you too, because you're our liaison to the education committee. So
Appropriately dressed.
I was going to say, I might have to. Really? Even here, you're giving orders? Yeah, right. All right. Yeah. Want some cruises?
Good to see you.
Okay, next we have our new area superintendent, Ms. Valerie Haynes, and if she'd have a few words to say to us. Sure. And I promise you over the years we'll have a few words to say to you.
I understand. Good evening. I am so happy to be here tonight. I grew up in Wellington, and I know I've said that several times now, but it is important to say because I've seen Wellington grow from a child's perspective to an adult. My mom still lives in the village of Wellington, so for me, it's like coming back home. But this time, I'm coming back home in a different capacity, right? In that I'm able to make a difference with our community. I'm able to make a lasting difference with our students that we serve. And I know Dr. Rodriguez has done an amazing job in the years that he served the village of Wellington, and I intend to work diligently to make sure that the work moves forward and so that we keep open communication both ways so that we can do what's best for our children and our community and move our village forward. So thank you for having me tonight. I look forward to working with you.
Very nice to meet
Welcome.
you. We expect cell phone numbers like we had for Frank. So, just so you know.
It's already been out.
Okay, all right, okay. I don't have it, but we'll get together and
Of course,
we'll talk.
we will.
So.
I was hoping that we would have an opportunity for us to have our own meet and greet so that I can, speak and get to know each and every one of you.
We
either
would love to
one-on-one or in
host
a
that
group.
here.
That would be
There's a
great.
time that we can manage that, Mr.
Ms. Edwards
Schofield.
is going to arrange that. She just shook her
Excellent.
head.
Okay,
Perfect.
excellent. Very good.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And welcome. Okay,
All
that
right.
brings us to the consent agenda. Staff recommends approval as presented. We have no comment cards on the consent agenda, and we have no comment cards for public forum.
Okay, so hearing no comment on the consent agenda, is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all approved. All opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That brings us to public hearings.
First item under public hearings is ordinance number 2019-04, Article 5 of Land Development Regulations. And you may want to have the discussion about the next item as well, which is resolution number 2019-15, Development Review Manual. Ms. Kalobi will read by title. Mr. Basehart and Ms. Kramer are here to present.
An ordinance of Wellington, Florida's council amending the Wellington Land Development Regulations, more specifically a zoning text amendment to modify Article 5 in its entirety as contained herein to establish specific standards related to the development review procedures for development applications, providing a conflicts clause, providing a severability clause, providing an effective date. I'll read the resolution title as well. A resolution of Wellington, Florida's council adopting the Development Review Manual as more specifically described herein to provide forms for planning and zoning application types, submittal requirements, review criteria, and detail the process for development applications as required in Article 5 of Wellington's Land Development Regulations and to comply with Florida statutes, providing a conflicts clause, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date.
Very well. I think we have our presentations.
If it's council's pleasure, we'll discuss both of the items, although you have to vote on them separately. You're all familiar with what we're proposing here. We're in the process of rewriting the entire land development regulation ordinance. What we've done, the effort is to streamline it, to reduce its size, to eliminate duplications and confusion and conflicts, and to make it readable to the general population. People that aren't involved in zoning issues every day often have very difficult time interpreting or understanding what the current code says. So in the overall effort, we're hoping to get the entire code down from about 1,200 pages, or a little over 1,200, to about 400 without losing anything. We're reducing the number of articles from 14 down to 9. You have seen Articles 1, 2, 4 is going to be a future, it's reserved for future use. You actually, and then Article 7, 8, and 9, you've seen all of them. You've approved them on first reading. We're holding them for the final 2 elements, which is Articles 3, which is definitions, and 6, which are development standards. Those 2 will be coming to you later this summer, and hopefully then we can bring for second reading all of them up at the same time, so the entire code is adopted at the same time. Article 5 is a little different. Article 5 we actually rewrote first. That's the development review processes. We wanted to streamline it and do the other things that I mentioned for the balance of the code. It's been in effect now for almost 2 years. But in writing the other sections, we found that some references are changing, references to other sections in the code. And so basically what this exercise is to make the changes that are necessary so that it's entirely in conformance with the other elements that have already been written in Article 6, which is being worked on now. And with the Development Review Manual, we've also, again, the Development Review Manual has been a big success. It's a how-to book for anybody using the code and making applications to the village. We've received a lot of good feedback on it, but with the changes that we need to make to on reference to sections and things of the code, we need to change the review manual as well. And we've added some things. We've added some pictures to simplify and to make people be able to understand some of the provisions easier. And so that's essentially what's before you tonight. There are no substantive changes. We have a little PowerPoint presentation to go over them if you wish. If you're comfortable with what we presented yesterday and this evening, we can bypass that if you want. It's up to you.
How long does the PowerPoint take? I think it's a good thing for the community to see it, in case, I mean, they're not all coming out tonight. There's only a few
Right.
people here, but they might be watching at home. So I think it's valuable for us to go through that.
Okay.
I do have one question, though, before we go further. The DRC question, the committee, the sunshine rules, have we addressed that? Has that been taken care of
Yes.
so that we're not in some kind of a state of concern about that?
When we amended Article 5, which is currently in effect, we eliminated the Development Review Committee so that there is no issue there. And what we did, we substituted that committee process with basically the process is now that you submit your applications, they are sent to all the review agencies, everybody comments, they can discuss the issues with each other, and once all the comments are in and the issues are all resolved, then the decision to certify an application so that it can move into the public hearing process is made by the Development Review Coordinator, which is Ms. Kramer.
Okay, so it's still a DRC. It's a coordinator instead of a committee.
That's correct.
Essentially what it does is rather than have that public meeting, all of the same comments are available. They're still made available to the applicant. They're still made available to the public. But the certification decision is sort of where it always was in the planning manager, and that title has been changed to Development Review Coordinator to be consistent with the county and other jurisdictions. And really the basic difference is there's not a public hearing, but all the comments are still at the same time. They're still the applicant, and they're still available online for anybody who wants to see them.
And we still offer meetings with the agent should they have questions. So the ability to sit down with the team of reviewers is also still an option.
The issue came about because, like many other communities, we had a development review committee, and there was an attorney general opinion that came out, I think, in 2009 or something, that essentially said that the staff wouldn't, if they were the development review committee, the staff would not be able to communicate with each other on various applications outside of the sunshine. And so we began to have our meetings in the sunshine, the DRC meetings in the sunshine. You'll remember those were televised. But in order to eliminate that and make it so that staff can communicate with one another about various applications, we made the change, and many other communities either have or will be making those changes.
And the reason for that was fairly simple because, multiple departments review every application, but as long as we were doing that committee meeting, if, say, there was an engineering question that needed to be answered, the planner who was processing it could not ask the engineer. We'd have to hold another advertised meeting, they were in those respects, just like this body, there were no communications outside of that meeting, and that drastically slowed the review process. And it's also interesting to note that as we went through this process and we talked to the community of people who interact with us, the people who submit applications, they supported this process.
And there's been no difficulties with it.
No, it's been in effect since 2017, and we haven't had any issues or concerns.
Excellent. Okay. You want to go ahead and have them, does everyone agree to take us through the?
Yeah, we should walk through it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so before you tonight is ordinance 2019-04, Article 5, Development Review Procedures, and Resolution 2019-15, the Development Review Manual. This request is to modify Article 5 of the Land Development Regulations and readopt the Development Review Manual with resulted updates from the LDR rewrite. Attached is a summary of the changes. This was also in your packet. What I did was pulled every change that we made from the first adoption and listed it in an order so that you could go through your packet and see the highlighted changes and see exactly what was changed. But I felt that this was a quick reference guide for you to see that the changes were very minimal. And the summary of changes to the Development Review Manual include, we added information regarding landscaping, sign graphics, lighting information, and other helpful links and resources. The type of information that you'll find in the Development Review Manual is more of resource in nature and not necessarily requirements. If it was a requirement or it's a general practicing standard, but the actual requirements were left in the land development regulations. And as Bob stated, the purpose of the rewrite is to streamline the process, to provide clear and accurate information to all audiences, provide standards that are based on Wellington's needs, and also to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And just an update, Article 5 and the Development Review Manual were previously adopted, and the current request is just to modify that. Articles 1, 2, 7, 8, and 9 have been approved through first reading, and Articles 6 and 3 are in the rewrite process and will be moving forward within the next 2 months. Our recommendation is approval of Ordinance 2019-04 and Resolution 2019-15. That's our presentation.
Questions from council?
Both of these were presented to Planning and Zoning
Yes.
Yes.
and approved.
Unanimously, yes.
Okay. And are we going to, as you walk through, we approved this rewrite of Article 5
2 years.
2 years ago. Are there going to be additional tweaks or changes we're going to have to make to the other articles that we just talked about, 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, or are we going to wait till after we've lived under them for a little while?
What we're doing with those, there will be some minor changes, which will be just references to other sections in the code. But as I mentioned yesterday, one thing that you need to expect, codes are complicated. Even being simplified, codes are complicated documents. And they're breathing documents. They're not static. Things change. New development techniques or new development types occasionally occur, and you've got to keep updating your code to keep
And legislative changes like we discussed yesterday, too.
And what you can expect in, not immediately, but within a year of the adoption of the entire code, you're probably going to get what most communities refer to as a glitch bill, which will be amendments to the code to take care of little issues that have come up that weren't anticipated when the code was originally written and adopted. And I mean, that's commonly done. Our objective is to keep it to an absolute minimum, and we think we're accomplishing that. We don't think in a year from now, when you look at a glitch ordinance, there'll be a whole lot to it.
The one thing that you will see during second reading is that as we go through Article 6, there is a lot of information in Article 6, and some of it was duplicated and in Article 7, 8, or 9 specifically, and it's better to be in 7, 8, or 9. So we either moved it, fixed it, modified it, or deleted it, depending on what we needed to do with the text. And so what I've done is laid out the same chart that you received in your staff report. So anything that was added from Article 6 that we weren't aware of at the time of first reading, you'll see it in the same chart in the same format for second reading.
And it's important to note here that we're not making the rules any more difficult or any less complete than they were before. They have just been, the duplications have been removed. In Article 5 originally, there were 6 or 7 different processes for an approval when they're all essentially identical. So now you have one. Where things were duplicated throughout, they've been removed, and it's just easier to read. But you have the same level of control. We're not relaxing the standards, nor are we making them any more difficult. We're just trying to make it so that the average person can understand our code.
Which was the goal we've had for a long time, to
Right.
simplify our code so people can pick
Clearer.
it up and understand it. Because again, there was so much duplication because it was the county's code we adopted, and there was a lot of items in there that didn't apply to Wellington, but now it's pretty much Wellington specific as to what Wellington expects from people, which is what we've been doing all along. So I commend you all for doing a great job, and cutting is the hardest part of editing, and taking 1,200 pages down to 4 is a phenomenal improvement. And you've kept all the-
400, not 4.
400, not 4. 400. That would have been
really
remarkable.
help. 4 would have been.
That's what a federal judge would have required. But yeah, that was a remarkable accomplishment. So thank you for that.
Thank
And our
you.
residents will thank you as well.
Well, it has been a significant work, and I appreciate that chart because it really shows how little actually changed. I also appreciate that it mentions pumpkins and Christmas trees, because if you lived in Wellington very long, you've heard about pumpkin sales, and it's clearly in here that pumpkin sales are part of our community. So I like the way that you've added our unique flavor to it as we've gone along. Any other comments or questions from the council?
You do need a public hearing.
Move to
Okay.
open public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. The public hearing is now open. Is there any public comment on this, either of these items? Seeing none, is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. The public hearing is now closed on this. Public comment is now closed on this. Is there a motion on, first we need a motion on the ordinance.
I'll move to approve ordinance number 2019-04.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. On to the resolution.
I'll move to approve resolution number R 2019-15.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the agenda and to attorney's reports, and it's very clear there are only 3 people in the village who love codes. Mr. Basehart, Ms. Kramer, and I.
Yeah, well, you had to love it to do it this well, so we appreciate that.
Okay.
Although I think Bob wrote the first one we had too, so we can blame him for some of it.
No.
Okay, so the county complicated things after you were
Mr.
gone.
Basehart's 1978 version was no less complex.
Okay, well, I'm glad we've had a good impression on you then. Thank you for the hard work. All right.
Just one item, just a reminder that the vice mayor and I and the manager will be going to mediation tomorrow in the Pine Tree matter. And so we'll report back once we've concluded that mediation.
Is that tomorrow morning?
It's tomorrow morning, 10 a.m.
Thank you for making yourself available, Mr. Vice Mayor. Appreciate it.
Happy to do it.
Very well.
The next regular council meeting will be held here on Tuesday, July 9th at 7 p.m. And just as a reminder, it's the council's practice to hold only one meeting in July. Village offices will be closed Thursday, July the 4th, in observance of Independence Day. Wellington's 4th of July celebrations will start at 12 noon at the Aquatics Complex, and then at 6 o'clock at Village Park for fireworks, which will begin at 9:15. I had a request from Anna Yeski with the Intergovernmental Plan and Amendment Review Committee. She advised us that they will be reestablishing the countywide issues forum and requested that we nominate a member and an alternate member. This committee it's been nearly a decade since they've met at all. I think the county has asked to reconstitute them so that if there are issues that are of a countywide nature, they could discuss them. I had sent you in one of the weeklies some of the topics that we might consider that are countywide, like, for instance, the levee at Lake Okeechobee, discharges with phosphorus and things. It had been our practice in the past to appoint the mayor and vice mayor as the member and alternate, but that is entirely up to you. But I do need...
This was a part of my presidential initiative for the Palm Beach County League of Cities, was to reestablish this. The Issues Forum broke down when there was a lawsuit with some of the cities against the county regarding the funding of the IG, and some other issues caused some discrepancies in just organizing and having those kinds of conversations. So I liked that we're getting it back together, but it's not necessarily a place to do all grievances or anything like that.
Pass it down.
But it is a part of our comp plan. Every city is required to have intergovernmental coordination. So it does meet that requirement for the city. So it is important. The one thing that struck me that I thought we should address was the manure issue, because over and over we've talked about the fact that it's not a Wellington problem. Wellington, the government of Wellington doesn't even own a horse to produce any manure. So, but it is a significant problem for the community. It's a significant problem for our neighbors to the north and south, and particularly the county itself has the issue also. So I thought it was honestly the best place to take the conversation beyond just Wellington's obligation to this issue. So my idea was for that to be something that we brought to the Issues Forum. It has to be voted on by this council to be brought to the forum. That's the procedure that Anna, I think, has laid out for the clarity of this. So if we do want to do that as a subject, we would vote on it as a council and then bring it to the Issues Forum at their next meeting, which is August 25th or something like that. Mr. Schofield?
Yes.
Do you have that information? I'm on the executive board. Doesn't mean that I have to be the designated member of this council, but I'm on the executive board of that already.
I think you should be the designated member. It makes sense.
You helped bring it back from the dead, so yes, well, happy
Yeah, but
to
let me
nominate
ask you this question. Is there a benefit to having two of our people there if you're already there?
Well, and there was a question whether we could have two if I was there. So it kind of becomes that other issue of serving on a committee together. So it's probably not. With me on the executive board, you're probably stuck with me.
Because we couldn't discuss it together if we were going to vote on it at some
Right.
point. So
So then that takes care of that.
Right. But
problem solved. You win.
the alternate would be the vice mayor. Is that
Sure.
I'm
acceptable?
fine with that.
I am too.
Okay.
What do you
I'd
guys
be an
think
alternate.
about
I'll
that
accept that too.
subject? Do you think, I think,
I think we need to address that. I think we've been trying to address it locally and internally with the problem we have off 50th Street right now that we can't seem to solve. So I think we need to, maybe escalate this to to get more voices engaged in the discussion.
I agree. Now, whether you guys whether they want to discuss that in August or at some point in time when more equestrians are here.
well, we would bring it up to the Issues Forum as a subject, and then they would decide whether, how they were going to present it. So the first procedure would be for us to say, yes, we think it's something that should be brought forward, and then the Issues Forum themselves would have to say that they agree. I only used it as an example when we were reconstituting as something that doesn't necessarily affect every city, but it does affect a significant number of cities and the county. So I kind of persuaded them on that line as we were discussing what kind of issues should be brought forward for the issues forum. They said, oh, that's your issue. That's a Wellington problem. So I went into detail about why I don't think it's a Wellington problem, because it's a West Jupiter problem. It's a significant areas of the county. It's a town of Loxahatchee Groves problem, significant areas in the West Boynton area. So I think I got them to that point.
If I might, there are a couple of other topics that I'd like to suggest. They were in the weeklies, but they include septic to sewer conversions. That is going to be a critical issue for this countywide critical issue. It is one for us as well. Discharges from Lake Okeechobee as we deal with blue-green algae. And finally, the State Road 80 transportation corridor, as we are looking at the work that's underway now. There's also a push for rail and lots of other things that we're not going to see at least for a couple of decades, so those should be discussion items, and those were the four that I thought we should, that were critical to us, that were also had a countywide impact. So if we could get approval to present those as well.
I would agree to approve those as well for issue forum topics.
Yeah, I agree.
And basically what would happen is we would agree, and we'll call for a vote just to be clear on that. And then we'll present those 4 issues to the issues forum, and they'll say yes or no, whether or not they think it's a countywide or affects enough cities to be brought up. This is also an agency procedure that will help if there's something that happens that affects 2 cities, and lots of times things will happen where there's a service area that one municipality will be required to provide services to someone that's outside of their area just because of service areas, and there may be some conflict over that. So that's the other sort of thing that might be brought up to the issues forum, because the county isn't necessarily at the table, but those are the kind of things that this group has value for. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So I think we have someone filling out a comment card. So, okay.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. That's fine. But so can we get a vote on those 4 issues?
I'll move to approve those topics that we just discussed.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Motion passes unanimously. Now Mr. Schofield can get that document together to them.
Do you want to take the public comment? Because the next thing I have is going to take a few minutes.
Okay, sure. Anyone who has any public comments, you can come forward. You need to fill out a card. But you can come up and speak now if you'd like and fill it out later. Okay. All we ask is name and address for the record, and then you get 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Peter Tauber. I'm at 13676 Folkestone Court. Been there for 18 years. Great city. You guys do a great job. The senior programs are great. Jennifer Brito's running that. New gentleman by the name of Kyle is assisting her. I believe he used to work at the pool before that. Then there's also 2 ladies in the office, but I can never remember their names. One took Scott Campbell's place, but anyway, just everybody does a great job in this city. It is incredible. Everybody I come in contact with try and be as helpful as they can be. Like I say, the senior programs, just great. One problem. In the shopping center across from Publix on the other side, I don't know exactly what it's called. Bell's is over there, and UFit Gym is over there.
The
movie theater is over there.
Yeah.
My goodness, if you're driving over there, be careful. And if it rains and you're driving, extra careful. Potholes, I guess in the rain, could become sinkholes. Wow. I mean, it's really bad. That's in that whole shopping center there. Let's see. Also a Asian food place over there. That's where the potholes are the worst, you know.
We did issue notices of corrections to that shopping center for those
figured-
So we're
problems.
one step ahead of you on that one.
I figured
agree
you would
with
have.
you.
About 6 months ago, over in Publix, they had a big pothole when you were entering off of Wellington Trace. Boy, that was fixed quick. I mean, that's nice. Thank you very much. I'll fill out the card.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And for the record, we weren't picking on any particular shopping center, but it did hit the local paper that code enforcement was
hit a lot of 'em.
addressing some commercial spaces and parking lots that needed maintenance. So we're working. Yeah.
I'm over there just, every day. So,
Yes. Thank you.
every day it was getting worse. And the 2 or 3 days of rain, wow, I mean,
Yes, sir.
you
Finally, I had, late this afternoon, I had received a request for assistance from the town of Waxahachie Groves. They're working with the Transportation Planning Agency on a grant for trails along Okeechobee Boulevard and F Road. The county had been serving as their local agency partner, and the county has indicated they're no longer willing to do that for the trail along F Road. They have asked if we would consider doing it because we have experience as a LAP, as a local agency partner, and we have done equestrian trails. To the extent that this involves submitting the application, I think I'm prepared to recommend to you that we could do that. There is no guarantee that
Could you
they
go
will
back
get the
and
funding.
say why the county has
Yeah.
withdrawn?
Good question.
What was?
Oh, they didn't, but I can tell
They
you
said
what
in the
I
letter that it's
think
because
the
it's
reasons
on
are.
town-owned property, not county-owned property.
Right, and there are some issues with responsibility and accountability that go with being the LAP agency once you get into the construction phase. And while I am prepared to support allowing them to move forward with the application and to take the 6 or 7 months that it will require to become LAP certified, I don't think we're in the position to be able to oversee and manage construction, because if you do that, there are both state and federal guidelines in terms of payment and oversight and certifications, and that's a project that's not within our boundaries, and we're ill-equipped to do that. But for the purposes of helping an adjacent municipality get the application moving, and knowing that funding for this is at least 18 months off and perhaps as far as 36, I think if we can help Waxahachie, we should, but I don't think we should go further than the permit and, basic survey and stages, none of which are funded by LAP, and the town has to do that on their own.
So if we were to agree and then they become certified, can we withdraw like the county did?
We will withdraw, yes, and this would be contingent on them getting their LAP certification.
And then they would be the certifying agency for themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
We're sort of a stopgap for our neighbor.
Yes, we're just helping them get the application in and get through the initial stages and give them time to get their own agency partner certification.
I guess the question is, why wouldn't the county just wait it out and let them get their certification? Why leave them hanging like that?
That's what I'm wondering if it's a legal
can't tell you.
issue.
Can only tell you that if you were asking me, should we become the LAP partner for the entire phase of construction, I would tell you no.
Okay, so I think the issue there is that they have this July 1st deadline, and so if there isn't a meeting of the county commission, they may not be able to do that. The other part the other issue though, but then Mr. Schofield, if you read Mr. Titcom's email to you, it then talks about to follow with an interlocal agreement that would meet both of the municipalities' interests. Are we still talking about doing that?
We need to do that. The problem that both Mr. Titcomb and I have is neither one of us can approve it. It would need legal review on our part, and the soonest we could have that back to you is July 8th or 9th, whatever our next meeting is. I'm not even sure we can do it by then, but I would like to get to the point where they can at least make the application. If we could.
By the July 1st deadline?
Yes, sir.
Which is Tuesday.
Right.
Interestingly enough, yes.
And the idea behind it interlocal is there's some benefit to both of us, a mutual benefit. The mutual benefit, we do have a horse community that crosses over. Having trail systems that work north of us. Is that a benefit to Wellington?
I think that it is, because one of the things that we did is we built a trail along the multi-purpose path along Flying Cow Road, which will take us out to what is supposed to be the Lake Worth Lagoon to Lake Okeechobee trail, and there's some benefit. They use our facilities, and there's some cross between the two communities.
Is there any cost to us to do this for them that wouldn't be reimbursed?
There are, the only initial cost would be the time that it takes me to work out the agreement, and the time that it takes Mrs. Cohen to review it. Other than that, any design costs, and those are strictly the town of Loxahatchee Groves. I'm not in a position, and nor would I recommend that we expend funds in another community.
And that's what we'd need. We could approve this. I think they are a good neighbor. I think we do have mutual interests. But it has to be approved. It has to be looked at by your department.
Absolutely.
It has to be legal, it has to be allowable, it has to be something we can do for them. And then we have to have our way back out. If you're saying that if they don't become LAP certified, then we would not be going forward with the whole project.
The agreement is going to say, if you don't become LAP certified, then we're
withdrawing.
We're withdrawing regardless. The other thing that I have to do is, I'm not altogether certain that as a municipality that we can be the LAP partner for another municipality. So I have to clear that up with FDOT in the morning, and assuming that if that's allowable, then we can move forward. But I didn't have enough time to get to DOT. I didn't get this till after 5 o'clock, and DOT's
Right, I mean, this
people were out.
is time-stamped 5:07 p.m. today.
And this is our neighboring municipality that's kind of punting because they got cut out of the state budget. Am I correct about that? Was this the
same project?
I don't know if
It's
it's
not-
the same project. This is a TPA
Okay.
project that
Okay.
they had submitted separately, and
But I don't think this is the project that was just vetoed by the governor.
but for the purposes of getting the application in and getting them into design, I think we're relatively safe moving forward. I just couldn't recommend that once construction starts that we continue.
If we're allowed to sponsor them as a co-municipality, I'm okay with doing it, knowing that it's only the time commitment of yourself and Ms. Cohen to help put together the documents that ensure that we're just in the sponsor capacity to help them apply for their grants. Then hopefully once they get certified, they can run with the project themselves, and we have no outlay of cash. I'm okay with helping our neighbors.
Yeah, as long as there's a clear definition of what our role is and a clear exit, I'm fine with it too. I'd like to think that if the roles were reversed, that they would come to our aid as well. So we should be a good neighbor, and I agree with the mayor. We have mutual interest here, so.
Correct, I agree. I think we do have mutual interest to seeing them have a functioning trail system. It allows for safe travel for all the horses. I think it is a Western communities thing. I think we should do it if we can, but we need to make sure that we're, I think, legally on safe ground, and that we're protected if they don't become LAP certified.
Understood.
all right? You have consensus? Is that enough?
So when would we see something though drawn up, or when will you?
But we're hoping for the first meeting in July.
Meeting, July 9th.
Okay, we have okay. Do you have consensus on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. We have another speaker that has filled out a card. Hakan Gagnes, could you come forward, please? You get 3 minutes. Name and address.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Hakan Gagnes. I live at 137 83 53rd Road in the Question Preserve Committee. Ask not what your village can do for you, but what you can do for your village. I sat and listened to the narrative during the council workshop meetings, and it was, we need to find a way to regulate these operations, these manure, because the Right to Farm Act and all that stuff. Well, as of June 5th, the state has come back with the requirement that this activity needs to be permitted as a solid waste. So you have a way to regulate them, yet to this day, they are still operating. So I question what action will be taken.
we don't really engage. This is your time to talk. It's
All
our
right.
time to listen. So if you have any other comments, you're welcome. But
And I'll be happy to call you in the morning.
Okay. That-
Okay.
That's fine. I do have a question for you about the code simplification. Have you actually asked someone from the public just to read it and just get their interpretation to see actually how it is? That would be one.
We have, yes.
Okay. Just want to sure. That's it. Thank you.
thank you for your comment. Thank you for being here.
I just have one more positive
Okay.
comment to ask.
We're going to
And
allow it. It's out of order, but we're going to allow it.
I am definitely out of order most of the time. But I'd like to say the concert series we have over at the amphitheater, just fantastic. And it seems to be run so well from my point. I guess it's just terrific. Everybody enjoys themselves and just terrific. Very
Thank
good,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Won't bother you again.
Okay. No. Very well. Well, if we had a very busy meeting, I guess we could have stuck to the schedule, but because we had a light meeting and you were going to be positive, I went ahead and allowed that. And also, we do take public comment pretty seriously as a community, so we want to engage in as much public comment as we can have. I know it's difficult sometimes when it's a controversial issue, but we do take that seriously. So we want public input along the way. And when we did that code rewrite, how long has that taken? I mean, the first step was interacting with the community about how they're using it and how we should change it. I mean, we were getting a lot of pressure from developers, from residents, from all kinds of elements that were saying this is difficult, cumbersome, confusing. There's too many places you have to turn to. So that was resident driven. Really.
Yes, and we've been in this process for almost 2 years.
It's been a huge amount of work, and you've got some staff members who've been almost wholly dedicated to that. So, and it's tedious work.
The really interesting part of it is we gave it to some of our very newest people to review, and one of the real positive changes that we've seen is that Ms. Ferriolo, who started off as a planning technician, read it for simplicity and understanding, and part of the byproduct of that is she's become one of our better planners and understands that code very, very well.
Yes, we've had a lot of interaction on that. So, and I think that's what's made it successful. So when it comes to public input, it can be messy. I know one of our neighboring communities has a really difficult time, and that's okay. I mean, that's part of dealing with the public. But when it comes to erring on the side of letting someone speak, even if I disagree with them, I'm always going to be open to that because that's kind of our role. We're here for that. So, all right, where are we at in the meeting? We've gotten, is that all of your comments?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Schofield, do we have any comments from the clerk? No. Okay, very well. Let's go to council comments. Councilwoman, would you like to go first?
Sure. I just wanted to say congratulations to Chevelle Newbin. She's not here tonight, but she was the recipient of an award from the Florida Association of City Clerks. So I just wanted to congratulate her. And if I missed anybody else who got an award there, I'm sorry. And just wanted to wish everyone a safe and fun 4th of July. Hope to see everybody out there.
Very well. Councilman.
I too hope we'll see everybody next week on the 4th of July. I too want to welcome Valerie Haynes. I had a chance to meet with her. I think she has big shoes to fill, but I think she's ready for the job here as area superintendent of schools. And then I want to thank our folks from Parks and Recreation for working with the American Legion. Councilman Dreyhouse and I got to go to their Veterans Open House on June 5th, and I think it's an event that is important that we have every year, and hopefully more and more people will come and take advantage of those organizations and those services that exist here in the community to help veterans. So that was a great event, and I hope we'll continue to do it.
Thank you for attending. It is very informational. I've gone in the past. I was out of town for that, but thank you for that report. Councilman Dreyhouse?
No, I look forward to seeing everybody out for the 4th of July. Mr. Schofield, are we going to have good fireworks this year?
Mm-hmm. I promise you are, and I encourage you all to ask Mr. Juckett what my last comment to him was about fireworks.
I always tell my kids, if you guys don't like the fireworks this year, that's the guy right over there. Go get on him. Go get on him about it. But we do a great job every year, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a great event.
Very good.
I hope everyone's having a great summer. It's been a brutally, dangerously hot summer, so if you're out a lot, stay hydrated. With the 4th of July coming up, I'll be the curmudgeon if no one else wants to be and say, please don't set off fireworks personally. It's illegal and you could burn things down, especially as how dry it is. So please refrain from the urge to blow things up to celebrate our country's independence and do something else and go to the designated fireworks show where it's put on safely. And I'm going to apologize for missing the July meeting because that is my family's annual vacation every year. So I'm sure you will carry on fine without me.
We'll do our best. We'll have, and it happens. It's fine. You know, it all happen. We miss things. I missed, Memorial Day. So, and I hate to miss that, but it happens. There's times when we need to be with our families. So, on that line of curmudgeon, I am from Indiana, and we like to blow things up. I mean. So I understand the whole idea behind how much fun it is.
Particular to Indiana?
I think it is. I mean, my parents, who were such rule followers, had that secret coffee can of firecrackers that they would hide when the police came by. So, and they were meticulous rule followers in every other way. So I think it's an Indiana thing. But in the meantime, it's dangerous. I mean, the children's fingers are lost every year over something like that. Adults actually even get hurt doing this. It's not something we should be doing in our neighborhoods. It's just not safe. And
that, but it disrupts the animals quite a bit.
It disrupts the animals.
Dogs have a hard time every year, and the
people,
horses.
and particularly horses. And we do it very near some horse farms. So most of the horses are out of town by then, and that's preferred. But it disrupts actually a lot of adults too. I've had more emails over illegal fireworks than almost anything in this time that I've served here. So if you're, particularly if your neighbor is dealing with PTSD or has animals that are highly excitable about this, just show some respect and come to our public one where we can all get together. And here's the other thing I noticed last year. People were tailgating and just staying because I know that parking lot can be a disaster. Once you're in, you feel like you can't ever get out. So people are just coming in, bringing their chairs, sitting by their cars and waiting patiently for the traffic and extending their fun. So find ways to make that work.
Shuttle buses work well. People use the shuttle buses.
The shuttle buses are good, a good way to bring people in and out. I think, Councilman Dreyhouse, are you also in charge of the weather for that day? Is it your responsibility to make sure we have clear weather? Okay.
I'm working on it.
That's the big thing. If we have good weather, we have a very huge turnout there. So everybody come out, blow things up responsibly. We have firefighters, I think, that are out there actually lighting those things. So people who are qualified are doing it and do it safely and as a group. And be patient about getting in and out of the venue, and let's have some fun, and be respectful for our neighbors. So, thank you very much. Oh, and the noon patriotic pool party that starts at noon. There's a belly flop competition that I've been known to show up for. There's prizes on the hour for kids. There's like a few little rowing type competitions going on. So, with all red, white, and blue prizes. So thank you to our staff that tries to make a whole day of it, and I appreciate their efforts. So with that, we will see you in July. This meeting is adjourned.